हरे कृष्ण हरे कृष्ण। जय राधा माधव जय कुंज बिहारी। जय जय राधा माधव जय कुंज बिहारी। गोपी जन वल्लभ जगिरी वरधारे जशोदा नंदन ब्रज जनरंजना जमुना तीरा वनचारे। जय जय राधा माधव जय कुंज विष्णुपाद परमहंस परिव्राजकाचार्य अष्टोत्तरशत श्रीमद् सेवांग्रेस ऐसी भक्ति वेदांत स्वामी सिद्ध प्रभुपाद की जय। जय ओम विष्णुपाद परमहंस परिव्राजकाचार्य अष्टोत्तरशत श्रीमद् सेवांग्रेस भक्ति सिद्धांत सरस्वती गोसाई महाराज सिद्ध प्रभुपाद की जय। अनंत कोटि वैष्णव वृंद की जय। नामाचार्य श्री हरिदास ठाकुर की जय। निताय गौर प्रेमानंद हरि हरि ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। नारायणं नमस्कृत्यं नरं चैव नरोत्तमं देवीं सरस्वतीं व्यासं ततो जयमुदीरये। नष्टप्रायेषु अभद्रेषु नित्यं भागवतामृतं भगवत सेवया भगवतीर उत्तम श्लोके भक्ति भक्ति नैष्टिके कृष्णाय वासुदेवाय देवकी नंदनाय च नन्दगोपकुमाराय गोविन्दाय नमो नमः। हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्ण हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे राम राम हरे हरे। श्रील प्रभुपाद की। Hare Krishna. So we are reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 3, Chapter 1, text number 32. कश्चिद्बुधः स्वस्ति अनामिवस्ते कश्चिद्बुधः स्वस्तमिम अनाविआस्ते स्वपल्कपुत्रो भगवत्प्रपन्नः यः कृष्णपादाङ्घ्रितमार्गपांसुस्व अचेष्टतः प्रेम विभिन्न धैर्यः कश्चिद्बुधस्वस्थमनामिवास्ते स्वपल्कपुत्रो भगवत्प्रपन्नः यः कृष्णपदाङ्कितमार्गपवंसुस्व अचेष्टत प्रेम विभिन्नधैर्यः।
पुत्रा भगवत् प्रपन्ना ये कृष्ण पादाङ्कितमाग्रपंसो अचेत प्रेम विभिन्न धैर्य।
Mataji's translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Maharaj Srila Prabhupada.
Jai Prabhupada.
Please tell me whether Akrura, the son of Swafalka, is doing well. He is faultless soul, surrendered unto the personality of Godhead. He once lost his mental equilibrium due to his ecstasy of transcendental love and fell down on the dust of the road, which was marked with the footprints of Lord Krishna. Purport. When Akrura came to Vrindavan in search of Krishna, he saw the footprints of the Lord on the dust of Nandagram and at once fell on them in ecstasy of transcendental love. This ecstasy is possible for a devotee who is fully absorbed in incessant thoughts of Krishna. Such a pure devotee of the Lord is naturally faultless because he is always associated with the supreme pure personality of Godhead. Constant thoughts of Lord is the antiseptic method for keeping oneself free from the infectious contamination of the material qualities. The pure devotee of the Lord is always in company with the Lord by thinking of Him. 8. In the particular context of time and place, the transcendental emotions take a different turn, and this breaks the mental equilibrium of a devotee. Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu displayed the typical example of transcendental ecstasy as we can understand from the life of the incarnation of God. Om Jnanatimrandasya Jnananjana Chakshurunimitam Jana Tasmai Sri Gurave Namaha. Namo Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swaminti Namane Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Prashata Deshatarine Vancha Kalpatarubhasya Kripa Sindhu Bevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namah. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaura Bhaktavinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna. So in the translation and the purport, Srila Prabhupada very beautifully narrates the beautiful description of Krishna's lotus feet. So today we'll try to describe the glories of the lotus feet of Lord Krishna. So here in the translation it is mentioned that Kamsa, he ordered Akrura to bring Krishna and Balaram to Mathura from Vrindavan. He wanted to kill them in Mathura. So the next day, Akrurji, he started his journey towards Vrindavan. He drove his chariot towards Vrindavan. So he started his journey early in the morning, but it is mentioned that he reached in Vrindavan, Nandagaon area, in the evening, sunset time. So why did he take so much time to reach Nandagaon? Because while going towards Nandagaon, he was fully absorbed in thinking of Krishna's pastimes, his name and his beautiful qualities. And in the evening, during the sunset time, he reached in the area of Nandagaon. As he entered in Nandagaon area, he saw on the ground of Vrindavan land, there were footprints, marks of Krishna's footprints of the lotus feet. Upon seeing those footprints, he went in ecstasy and he jumped out of his chariot and fell on the ground. After seeing the footprints of Krishna's lotus feet, he started rolling on the ground. He started crying, yelling, and the tears from his eyes were like a Ganga and Jamuna welling. So, why did Akrura fall at the footprints of Krishna? Because he knew these lotus feet are the only shelter for the conditioned soul to mitigate their suffering of this material world. These are the only means to mitigate the sufferings. Unfortunately, in this material world, people take shelter of their wealth, their capacities, their abilities, their skills, and they also take shelter of some mundane, ordinary people. But actually, these people or wealth cannot be our shelter. Shastra explains, if we take shelter of any ordinary human being of this world, or our own abilities or wealth or a strength, it is like sitting on a boat which is made up of stones. Immediately the boat which is made up of stone will sink in the ocean. But The boat which is made up of Lord Krishna's lotus footprints or lotus feet, it can easily take us across the ocean of birth and death. Just as a person comes under the shade of a big tree, then immediately the person becomes free from all the scorching heat of the sun. So similarly, the shelter of Krishna's lotus feet is like Samashitaye padapallava plavam mahat padam punya yasho murare. So when one takes shelter of Krishna's lotus feet, the entire ocean of birth and death becomes like a water which can fit into the hoofprints of a calf. So small little puddle, one can easily cross over. There was one devotee of Lord Ram. His name was Kevat. So Lord Ramchandra, when he was on the way to his exile towards the forest, he came to the bank of Mother Ganga. So now he wanted to cross Mother Ganga, so he was searching for a boatman. And somehow there was only one boatman, and that was Kevat. So Lord Ramchandra requested Kevat, "My dear sir, can you please take me across this river?" So very happily, jubilantly, he said, "Yes, my dear Lord, it's my great fortune." Then he said, "Actually, my boat can take you across this small river, but the boat of your lotus feet can carry us across the ocean of birth and death. My boat is very small. I can take you from one bank to other bank of this Ganga. But one who takes shelter of your lotus feet, they will be saved from the cycle of birth and death." And then he said, "But there is one small request. Before you ascend to my boat, I want to wash your lotus feet. Because I heard the story that after killing Tataka, on the way to Mithila, you went to an ashrama, Gautam Rishi's ashrama, and there was one stone. And the dust of your lotus feet embraced that stone, and that stone turned into a beautiful lady. And my boat is also made up of several wood or pieces of woods. So I am afraid if the dust of your lotus feet start embracing my boat, then these pieces also will turn into a beautiful ladies. So before that I want to wash your lotus feet." So Krishna Lord Ram was very pleased with the humility and devotion of Kevata. So after washing his lotus feet, Lord Ramchandra ascended the boat. And Shastra explains, Mukundamala Stotra explains, what is the king's name? Kulashekar. King Kulashekar says, he offers the praise at the lotus feet of Krishna. "Krishna tvadiya padapankaja panjarantam addeva me vishitumanasaraja hamsam pranaprayana samaye kapavata pitte kanthavarodhan vidho smaranam kutaste." Kulashekar Maharaj is offering praise to Krishna that, "My dear Krishna, at this moment my body is fit, my mind is fit. So let the swan of my mind, tangled in the network of the stems of the lotus feet of your stems of your lotus feet, because I don't know whether at the time of death I'll be able to remember you, because this throat will be choked with mucus and bile and air. So therefore at this moment I am fit, my body is fit, therefore I want to remember your lotus feet." Savai mana Krishna padara vindayo vachamsi vaikunta gunanu varnane. Maharaj Amrish, he was the emperor of the entire world. But his daily routine was, he would wash and clean the floor with his hands. He would do parikrama of the temple with his lotus feet. and with his mind he was constantly absorbed in thinking the lotus feet of Lord Krishna. So Ambrish Maharaj, although he was the busiest person on this planet, but he was constantly engaged in Krishna's service. Just before the war of Mahabharat, Duryodhana and Arjun, both of them came to Dwarika to take help from Krishna. So Lord Krishna was taking rest on his royal bed. Duryodhana came and he sat next to Lord Krishna's face on an elevated seat. Arjuna came a little later. As a humble devotee, Arjuna sat on the floor near the lotus feet of Lord Krishna. And he kept observing and looking at the lotus feet of Krishna and the different footprints of Lord Krishna. When Krishna woke up, he saw Arjun and he asked him, "My dear Arjun, when did you come?" Then Duryodhana interrupted him. Duryodhana said, "My dear Krishna, I came before Arjuna. So therefore I have first rights to ask for help." Arjuna said, "Okay, my dear Krishna, let him ask whatever he wants." So then he chose Krishna's army, but he did not select Krishna because Krishna said he will not be fighting in the war. Arjuna said, "Yes, I want you, my dear Krishna." So when Duryodhana left, Krishna asked him, "My dear Arjuna, why did you select me? Why did you choose me? Because I'm not at the help of, I won't be lifting any weapons, I will not be fighting in the war." And then Arjuna said, "My dear Krishna, when you were taking rest, I was looking at your lotus footprints. And my mother Kunti, she told me that, my dear beta, whatever opulences we have, either in Hastinapur or in Indraprastha, it is because of the presence of Krishna's lotus feet. Because of the footprints of Krishna's lotus feet, there is a prosperity in our kingdom." And it is true. It is mentioned in the Srimad Bhagavatam, when Krishna was present on this earth planet, Krishna would walk on the surface of the earth, and all those footprints of Krishna's were impregnate on the surface. Mother Earth was so happy, she was so blissful. She preserved those footprints as an ornaments. And she was so happy. She was as perfect as possible. The rivers, mountains, mines, and then all the forest, which are the supplying agents for the necessities of men and the animals, they were so happy and they were as perfect as possible. They started producing all the necessities, they started supplying necessities to all the worldly creatures. And it is mentioned, because of the presence of Krishna's lotus feet on the earth planet, earth was more opulent, more prosperous than the heavenly planets. As long as Krishna was present on the earth was more opulent than the heavenly planet. So Srimad Bhagavatam explains to us that if we really want progress, if you want prosperity, if you want opulences, then we must take shelter of Krishna's lotus feet. Chalayasi vikramane balim adbhutavaman padanakhanira janita janapavan keshavadhrita vaman rupa jaya jagadish hare jaya jagadish hare jaya jagadish hare. Lord Vishnu, when he came in the form of Lord Vamandev, a small Brahmin boy, Bali Maharaj knew that he is not an ordinary Brahmin boy. He is Lord Vishnu. And then when he came to know that he wants to usurp everything, he wants to take away everything from me, he was very happy. When Lord Vamandev said, "My dear Bali, I want 3 steps of land. He said, please take. And then within 2 steps, Lord Vamandev, he covered everything. And then finally he asked him, where should I put my 3rd step? And Bali Maharaj very happily prayed to him. He said, my dear Krishna, I had conquered the 3 planets, the 14 planetary system, 3 worlds. I was enjoying the heavenly planets of Indra. But after seeing your lotus feet, I can understand. Even Brahma, Shiva and all the host of the gods, they are also aspiring for the dust of your lotus feet. Lakshmi Mata, she has got a very unique position. She is always residing on your chest. But she is not happy on your chest. She voluntarily gives up your chest and she sits at the lotus feet. And she is constantly massaging your lotus feet. That is the glory of your lotus feet. Mother Ganga, who purifies the entire universe, she is emanating from your lotus feet. And these lotus feet are available only for me. I am so fortunate. You are performing this Leela of Vamandev and Trivikrama only for me, for one person. I am so fortunate. So my dear Krishna, please place your 3rd step on my head. So, Bali Maharaj, Atma Nivedana Tuva Pade Kori Hoinu Parama Sukhi Dukha Dure Gelo Chinta Na Rohilo Chodi Ke Anande Dekhi. Bali Maharaj is praying to Krishna, Atma Nivedana Tuva Pade Karu. My dear Krishna, my mind, my words, my body, my whole family, my whatever I have, it is at your lotus feet. Hoinu Parama Sukhi. By offering everything to you at your lotus feet, I become perfectly Parama Sukhi, absolutely happy. Dukkha Dure Gelo. When you have taken everything from me, you also usurp my miseries. Dukkha Dure Gelo. Chinta Na Rohilo. Now there is no anxiety. Because I have nothing. So no anxiety, no tension. Chinta Na Rohilo. Chaudi ke Anand Dekhi. Chaudi ke matlab 14 planetary system. Now I can see everywhere. Only there is a happiness, only bliss. So, when Bali Maharaj offered everything to Lord Krishna, he became perfectly happy. One time 4 Kumaras, Chatush Kumar, they wanted to meet, take darshan of Narayana. They approached Vaikuntha planet. And Jai Vijay stopped them. So they cursed Jai and Vijay. When they cursed, Lord Narayana also appeared. He came at the entrance of Vaikuntha Dham. So first time Chatush Kumar saw Lord Narayana, and the fragrance of the lotus feet of Krishna mixed with the aroma of tulsi leaves hit the nostrils of Chatush Kumar. And this aroma of the tulsi leaves and the fragrance of the lotus feet of Krishna, as they hit the nostrils of Chatush Kumar, previously they were Brahmavadis. But now, simply by smelling that aroma of tulsi and fragrance of Krishna's lotus feet, they became completely, thoroughly surrendered soul at the lotus feet of Krishna. So that is the glory of Lord Krishna's lotus feet. Therefore, Govinda Das writes in his bhajan, Bhajahu Remana Sri Nanda Nandana Abhaya Charana Ravindare Durlabha Manava Janama Satsange Taroe Bhava Sindhure Abhaya Charana Ravindare. My dear mind, please worship. Please offer your obeisances to the lotus feet of Krishna. Please worship these lotus feet of Krishna. They can offer you abhaya. Abhaya means where there is no fear. This entire universe is filled with fear. But only Krishna's lotus feet can offer that shelter when one can become completely abhaya or fearless. In one of the purport, Prabhupada writes, the safest place in the entire universe is at the lotus feet of Krishna in the association of devotees. That is the safest place. And therefore, Narottam Das Thakur also writes, Nitai pada kamala koti chandra sushitala je chhayai jagat judai. Please take shelter, my dear mind, please take shelter of Nityananda Prabhu's lotus feet. They are more soothing than millions of full moon. Koti Chandra Sushitala. And it can mitigate. The coolness of Nityananda Prabhu's lotus feet can mitigate all the anxieties, worries and suffering of all the conditioned souls. And what are the other benedictions offered? Heno nita bine bhai Radha Krishna paite nai Drida kori dharo nitai re pai. This Kali Yuga is filled with so many faults and so much of sin. But the lotus feet of Nityananda Prabhu is the only hope for the conditioned soul. Jagai and Madai were so sinful. They were more sinful than Hiranyakashipu and Hiranyaksha. They were more sinful than Ravana and Kumbhakarna. They were more sinful than Dantavakra and Shishupal. So there was no hope for them. But as they took shelter of Nityananda Prabhu's lotus feet, they were not only forgiven from their sinful reactions, they were offered the highest benediction, Krishna Prema, within a fraction of a second. That is the hope for a conditioned soul. Nitai Pada Kamala. So when we take shelter of Krishna's lotus feet, Nityananda Prabhu's lotus feet, one can be delivered. So therefore the Gopis, they also pray to Krishna in Gopi Gita. Chala siyat braja charayan pashun nalina sundaram nath te padam silatrinankure siddhati tina Kalilatamana Kantagachati. Gopis are praying to Krishna that, my dear Krishna, your lotus feet are softer than butter. But your problem is, your daring is, you walk into the forest, in the pasturing ground, barefoot. You don't put any shoes or chappals. Chalasi yad braja charayan pashun. And the mere thought that your foot are pricking or disturbed by the sila, trina, ankura, the rough grass or a husk. So these are pricking to your lotus feet. So that mere thought of your lotus feet pricked by this rough surface, it breaks our heart. It pains our heart. And this first time the Gopis are using this word pashu, for cows. Generally, nobody calls cows as an animal. But here the gopis are so much of concerned about Krishna's safety and his lotus feet. They are saying that cows are pashu. And they don't know that your feet are so soft. So while grazing, they are just going here and there. And now you are the only person to take care of so many cows. To bring them on the main road or in main area, you have to run and behind each and every cow. That means throughout the day you are just chasing the cows and barefoot. To one of the gopi, Krishna, within her mind, Krishna sends a message. He says, my dear gopi, why are you worrying so much about my safety or the lotus feet of my or my lotus feet? Then he says, actually I could have wear shoes or a chappal, but my devotees they have spread their hearts onto the road. So I know, because I am walking barefoot, so all my hundreds and millions of devotees, out of concern, they have spread their heart on the road. Now I am walking on their hearts. How can I walk on their hearts wearing shoes or a chappal? So therefore, don't worry, these thorns or a rough surface or a rough husk is not giving any disturbance or trouble to me. But the gopis are saying, we think that we are meant for suffering. Because Vishnu, they quote from Vishnu Puran. Vishnu Puran explains that in this material world, whoever offers his or her heart to anyone, that person is destined to suffer. There will be always lamentation for his life. And because we also have given heart to you, therefore we have to all the time only suffer. But then they said, but what can we do? You are Kanta. Kanta means, Ka means enjoyment or a bliss. And Ka means bliss, enjoyment. And Ananta means forever, unlimited. You are the one who offers love or prem forever, constantly. Now the gopis are saying, we are so unfortunate. Even Pashu, cows, they get more association, they get more attention. You are always behind the cows. Whole day the cows are grazing, they are walking here and there, and you are behind them. So they get more attention than us. What to speak of the cows? Even that hideous animal, that monster, Kaliya, you placed your soft lotus feet on the hoods of Kaliya. How fortunate he is. You dance on the hoods of Kaliya. Now gopis are thinking that Krishna's lotus feet are so soft. But only Kaliya knows what's the power of Krishna's lotus feet. When Krishna was kicking or placing his lotus feet on the hoods of Kaliya, Kaliya felt as if a Mount Meru or Mount Himalaya is falling on his each hoods. That was the power of Krishna's lotus feet. Actually, the gopis, because they are in love with Krishna, therefore they are so much concerned about Krishna's lotus feet. Now Shastra explains there are 3 types of rasa. The first is, or a rati. The first is Sadharani rati. Sadharani rati means There is a love for Krishna, but there is also little concern about our own enjoyment. And Rupa Goswami gives the example of Kubja. Kubja had developed this Sadharani Rati. She had a love for Krishna. She didn't love anyone except Krishna, but she was also very much concerned about her own enjoyment. And this was the only one example Rupa Goswami says that Kubja, and there is no one else in this Sadharani Rati. And the next is Samanjasa Rati. Very interesting. Now this Samanjasa Rati is, this attraction, this Rati is developed by the queens of Dwarika. The queens of Dwarika, except Rukmini Mata, everyone has cultivated this Samanjasa Rati. Now this Samanjasa Rati means there is affection, there is a love for Krishna, but very rarely that affection or love which is meant for Krishna, sometimes very rarely it is also divided. It is also placed on some other personalities. Like for example, the queens of Dwarika, they had 10 sons and 1 daughter. So naturally all the queens, they loved, Rupa Goswami gives this example, they loved Krishna more than their own heart. But sometimes little bit the same love and affection was shared with their sons and daughter. This is Samanjasa Rati. But in Vrindavan, the Gopis' love is called Samartha Rati. Samartha Rati means exclusively only for Krishna. And there is no question of dividing or sharing that affection or love with any other personality. Doesn't matter whether even if they are family members or not. Actually, Shastra explains that the Gopis' relationship with their family members were like a shadow or a statue. When you see a statue, okay, fine. So we are neither attached to the statue, nor we are envious or detached. Okay, the statue is there, I am here. Fine. I have nothing to do with the statue. So similarly, all their feelings and affection and love, everything was only meant for Krishna. That is called Samartha Rati. So, and then Rupa Goswami ji writes in a Lalita Astakam, Radha Brajendra Sutta Sangama Rangacharyam Varyam Vinishitam Vatim Akilotsya Vebhya Tam Gokula Priya Saki Nikuramba Mukhyam Devim Gunay Sulalitam Lalitam Namami. What is the love of Sri Lalita Devi towards Radha and Krishna? This is unfathomable even for a Brahma or a Shiva. Just hear the translation of this verse. It explains that Lalita Devi, she loves the lotus feet of Krishna and Sri Radha so much, to the extent when she sees even one drop of perspiration either on the lotus feet of Sri Radha or on the lotus feet of Krishna. Even if she sees one drop of perspiration on the lotus feet of Krishna or Radha, she instantly, immediately expands herself into millions of forms to wipe up one tear or one drop of that perspiration from the feet of Krishna. Now, who can think of this? One person is enough to wipe off one drop of perspiration from the lotus feet of either Radha or Krishna. But she has so much concern about the lotus feet of Krishna. By seeing one drop, she thinks that, within a fraction of milliseconds, I want to wipe it out. So, she expands into millions of forms just to wipe off one one drop. That is the translation of this verse. So, this gopis, their bhav towards Krishna's lotus feet is so great. Rupa Goswami writes that Krishna's lotus feet, they are more succulent, they are more juicy, they are more sweet, they are more sweeter than honey. And therefore he compares with the lotus flower, because lotus flower has maximum honey in it. And therefore all the bees are hovering around the lotus flower. And Krishna's lotus feet are filled with unending, unlimited honey or nectar. And therefore all the devotees of Krishna, they just want to reside at the lotus feet of Krishna. They don't want to go anywhere else. So when Krishna sees what's there in my lotus feet, that my devotees are constantly remembering my lotus feet, they always want to be at the lotus feet. What is there in it? Let me also taste that. But being a creator, being the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Vishnu, Narayan, he cannot suck his own toe. Therefore he becomes a little baby child, Krishna. And Markandeya Rishi saw that beautiful form. Kararavinde napadarvindam mukharavinde viniveshayantam vatasya patra saputeshayanam balam mukundam manasasmarami. That beautiful child with his lotus hands, he is holding the lotus toe and trying to push that lotus toe in his lotus mouth. He wanted to taste his own lotus toe. That is the greatness of Krishna's lotus feet. And many of our acharyas, they also give the description, details of the marks or the footprints of Krishna's lotus feet. So, Mahaprabhu Chaitanya asks this question to Ramananda Roy. He said, my dear Ramananda Roy, out of all the meditation process, which is the finest and the most beautiful or important process? Then Ramananda Roy says, meditating on the lotus feet of Radha and Krishna is the best form of all the meditation. This is the explanation of Ramananda Roy. So our scriptures explains, so there are total 19 marks on both the feet of Krishna and also Sri Radha. So Krishna's right lotus feet, there are 8 marks on the right feet of Krishna, and there are 11 marks on the left foot of Krishna. Radharani's left foot has 8 marks, and her right foot has 11 marks. So Krishna's left foot and Radharani's right foot, they have same numbers of marks and similar or common marks. And what are those beautiful footprints marks? So the right leg or a right lotus feet of Krishna, there are 8 marks. The first is barley corn. So this barley corn is situated exactly below the toe of Krishna's leg, barley coin. And what it signifies? So, that barley coin signifies that whoever takes shelter of Krishna's lotus feet, that person will be full with all the opulences and riches. So that barley coins represents all the opulences and riches. Just below the barley corn is disc or a chakra. So now whoever takes shelter of Krishna's lotus feet, that disc cleanses off that devotee's heart with 6 anarthas: lust, greed, pride, anger, illusion, envy, hatred. All these 6 anarthas are cleansed out because of the presence of chakra or a disc. And there is also a urdhva rekha, one line exactly in the center of the lotus feet. Now this urdhva rekha represents that whoever takes shelter of Krishna's lotus feet, all his devotees, they will be ascended towards the upper planets. That means in Golok Vrindavan or a Vaikuntha. Now just below Krishna's middle finger of his leg, of his feet, the middle finger, just below the middle finger, there is a lotus flower, the mark of lotus flower. What it is represents, just like lotus flower grows from the water. So similarly, when the devotees, they shed tears in separation from Krishna, when they shed tears in the separation from Krishna, from those tears, love of lotus flower for Krishna sprung up or springs up. So the love of lotus flower for Krishna springs up or takes birth in the eyes or in the tears of separation from Krishna. That it represents. And the last small finger of Krishna's lotus leg, just below the small finger is elephant goad, Ankush. That Ankush represents like this mind is so nasty. Uncontrolled mind is the greatest enemy of the sadhaka or a conditioned soul. But when we take shelter of Krishna's lotus feet, that elephant goad or Ankusha controls our uncontrolled mind. Just like Ankusha controls the elephant, this Ankusha also controls our uncontrolled mind. Just below the disc, there is an umbrella. So this umbrella signifies that whoever becomes a devotee takes shelter of Krishna's lotus feet. Now there are no more troubles in his or her life. Simply by taking shelter. Umbrella represents there are no more troubles, no more anxiety in the life of a devotee. And next to umbrella is a flag. Within 2 minutes I will finish, 2-3 minutes immediately. Now it's already 9:15, in 2-3 minutes. So next to umbrella is a flag. So this flag represents, very beautiful. After taking shelter of Krishna's lotus feet, one becomes very safe. One's life becomes secured or very safe. And next to flag is a thunderbolt. So that thunderbolt represents, that thunderbolt smashes the mountains. So similarly, these thunderbolts of Krishna's lotus feet smashes all the sinful karmas of millions of lifetimes of a devotee. Even if there are millions of lifetimes karma, they are all smashed by the thunderbolt of Krishna's lotus feet. And just at the hill of Krishna's lotus feet, there is one swastik mandala. So it has 3 parts. So there are 8-pointed star, Tara, 8-pointed star. So this 8-pointed star represents that when a devotee takes shelter of Krishna, he conquers all the 8 directions. And there is also swastika. So swastik is very auspicious. So it brings all auspiciousness in the life of a devotee. And in that mandala, there is also jumbo fruit. So now the jumbo fruits represents, or jumbo fruits explains that all the residents of Jambudvipa, whoever is the residents of Jambudvipa, there is only one object of their worship, that is lotus feet of Krishna. There is no other object of their worship, only lotus feet of Krishna. So these are the right footprints of Krishna's lotus feet. Now the left is, there are also 8. So the first is council. So the council is an auspicious sign for our devotees, and there is also footmarks or marks of sky. So the sky is all pervading, detached. So similarly, when we take shelter of Krishna's lotus feet, one also becomes detached from this material world, detached from all this nonsense of this world. That shows the sky. And there is also bow on the feet of Krishna. So it frees us from all the difficulties. And then there is also calf's hoof prints. Calf's hoof prints. That means after taking shelter of Krishna's lotus feet, the entire ocean of birth and death becomes a little puddle like a calf's hoof print. And there is also half moon. So that half moon fulfills all the desires of devotees, including spiritual and material desires. So there is no need to worry. That half moon fulfills all the desires. There are also 4 pitchers or pots. These 4 pots are filled with honey. And these honey pots, 4 pitchers, are meant only for devotees of Krishna. And any number of devotees can drink, can continue drinking that nectar and remain same, because it's absolute. So these 4 pitchers are filled with nectar only for his devotees. And there is also a triangle on lotus feet of Krishna, very beautiful. When we meditate on Krishna's lotus feet, that triangle mark of Krishna's lotus feet frees us from the influence of the 3 modes. And there is a last is a fish. So there is a fish, and the fish mark on the lotus feet of Krishna. Just like a fish cannot live without water, so similarly, when we take shelter of Krishna's lotus feet, we get so much hooked by Krishna's lotus feet. We get so much attached to the lotus feet of Krishna that we cannot live even for a second without being in the association of Krishna's lotus feet. In this way, one should meditate on Krishna's lotus feet. First, we should take darshan of the lotus feet, and then slowly we can go upwards and finally towards his face. So thank you very much. Hare Krishna. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.